All right, Quentin Gause, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
And I just pronounced your name wrong, even though we practiced it before we started recording. So, for, for me, when I get it in my head one way, it's hard to adjust it. So it's actually Gauls, right?
Gauze, yep.
All right, sorry about that.
No, that's all
You
right.
can beat me up later for that. No, man, look, I really appreciate you coming on and dropping into the Path to Freedom podcast with me today. I'm excited for our conversation.
Same here. Yeah. I know I love podcasts, so this is gonna be awesome one today. I know for sure.
Well, and speaking of that, you've got an awesome podcast yourself, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that today and where people can find it and check it out. But, you and I met probably about a month ago or a little longer and have kind of been getting to know each other. And, I think you're a fascinating guy. You've done a lot of impressive things and you just have a cool story to tell. So I'm excited to have you on the podcast. I think all the listeners are going to really enjoy learning a little bit more about you and everything that you have going on. And I think you've got some good lessons that you can share with everyone listening in as well. So with that, maybe kind of give those listening in that are not familiar with who you are and what you're all about, give them kind of the 30,000 foot view of, who Quentin Gause is.
Yeah. So, yep, my name is Quentin Gause. I attended Rutgers University. I ended up going there, getting my degree in journalism and media studies, then graduated, ended up playing in the NFL for 2 years, currently a free agent. And yeah, after I played, got out, I ended up creating Iron Visuals, which is a marketing consultancy. We do visual branding and marketing. So created that, and then my brother and I created we travel a lot, so we love traveling. So we created something called Tour Skipper, which allows people to be able to book different travel, like cool travel appointments through our website. And we work with a lot of different people within Colombia, DR, a lot of tour operators in Ethiopia. So like we've created like this little niche and these little travel vacations for people. So yeah, we've been doing that, and yeah, it's been cool. Been enjoying it. So I'm just a grinder, work hard, and continue every day. And I'm blessed, and God gets the glory and everything. Man.
Well, no doubt. And like I said, getting to know you a little bit, very impressive. And you're the type of guy, you got a lot of different things going on. And you seem to be the type of person that, when you set your mind to something, not only do you do it, but you do it well. And so I definitely want to talk more about, your experience playing football, playing at a high level in the NFL. I want to talk more about, your businesses and also your podcast. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, you've got a fantastic podcast. So you're involved in that as well. But I remember when we first started talking and I'm learning more about your businesses, I was like, man, these guys have a cool business. They basically get paid to travel to some of the most beautiful places in the world and, shoot videos and, they get their, stay in these amazing resorts. And I was like, that's the definition of working smart, not hard. So props to you on that. But maybe tell us a little bit more about, your kind of path playing in the NFL and how did you go from, focusing, I would imagine pretty much most of your energy, to football, to kind of deciding that, maybe it was the right time to pivot and, start businesses as well and kind of also focus on entrepreneurship.
Yeah, no, great question. So when I was younger, I started. My dad and his dad owned a business called G&G Steakout,
Mm-hmm.
and it was open for 20 years. Best steak sandwiches around in Rochester, New York. And we actually sometimes on Saturdays we'll do like a little 1-day pop-up shop for everybody, and we'll get like 100
Awesome.
people. So it's still people that love it.
I bet.
But that entrepreneurial spirit has always been there as a kid. My dad owned a restaurant as well too himself. The other one was my grandfather's.
Uh-huh.
The one that my dad owned, it failed. So I got to see like the ups and downs of the business. I got to see
Sure.
like the decisions you have to make to keep yourself profitable. The people you got to be around, the networking.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then as a kid growing up, I was born, not born, but I had an IEP in school, learning, the learning education thing they had. So like,
Yep.
in school, they used to, teachers, well, I don't know if you can do this, or I don't know if you're capable of, and I'm like, that motivated me. I'm like, oh, I'm not capable, huh?
That lit
Okay.
a fire, huh? Yeah. Yeah.
So I, ended up putting that fuel into the fire with football and anything I did. So first thing I did was like create highlight videos for kids that were in my age group, $120 a pop. Was making money as in high school. DJ'd in college, did some lawn work and stuff in college.
Yeah.
Made a lot of money doing that stuff. So I was always like entrepreneurial spirit, just finding some way to make it happen.
Yeah.
Graduated from college. Now I'm in the NFL now, and I'm still thinking. I got cut from the Eagles after the last preseason game. So I'm thinking like, dang, is that the journey? Is that it?
Is that it? All this work for that?
I'm like, what? So I actually went and utilized my degree at a football game. So I was doing some broadcasting. And then the next day they said, hey, yeah, we want to pick you up on the Patriots. I said, yes, let's go. So went there, went to the Broncos after that. And then when I got released from the Broncos after 2 years, I was like, I got to come up with something. Like, I've always thought about video. I love video. So I created Iron Sharpens Iron at the time, it was called. Mm-hmm. Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron, another man sharpens another. So came up with that name. Just video, just filming. It was no gigs I was getting paid for. I was just like, I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah. So I started traveling. Me and my brother was like, hey, let's go to Cancun. Why Cancun? Well, we always do cruises. Let's go on Cancun. So we went to Cancun. We were filming out there, having fun. Then we was like, oh, let's go to DR. Okay, all right. Went to DR. Let's go to Colombia. Let's go to Thailand. So we went and started filming. Then, we put these videos out, send them to, we will just film like the hotel or whatever for free, and then we'll send it to the hotel. I'm like, oh, we like that. So they'll bring us back. So we're like, oh, okay. So this is cool. So we started building up that portfolio, the international portfolio, and then we came back home domestically. We added on graphic design and marketing services.
Okay.
So I think one of our big clients was a mortgage broker, brokerage, sorry, and in New Jersey. And then we started working with an advertising company, billboard advertisement that needed some videos done. And then we started diving into the marketing side. So it started growing from there. And I would just say like the biggest thing is like, when you feel like there's no hope left, just keep going. Like, just keep going. Show up every day.
Yeah. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? It sounds cliche, but it's so true. And, what I love so much about your story is, I mean, you guys were kind of like the definition of taking risk as entrepreneurs. I mean, you're footing the bill to travel all over the world and, filming these resorts and these properties, without them asking you to do it. So you had no idea whether or not you were actually going to get paid for it. And I think that's huge, right? I mean, so many people, I think, would have maybe had a similar idea and said, well, but, we need to call the resort first and get their permission, or, make sure that this is something they're actually interested in, or, even lock them up as a client and get some sort of a deposit or cover our expenses. And you guys were just like, no, we like filming stuff. We like traveling. Let's take a shot at it and see if we can turn it into a business in the process. And I think it's a nice little niche that you guys seem to have carved out for yourselves. And, obviously it's grown from there. And you're working more domestically and picking up different types of clients. So, at this point, are you guys still doing any of the international videography work, or is it more?
Right now it's on pause right now.
Well, of course, right now. Yeah. There's this whole pandemic going on that makes it hard to travel the globe.
Yeah, we were supposed to go to South Africa. Well, technically it's supposed to be June. We're supposed to go. So hopefully if they open back up, I'm talking to the PR company out there, and we hopefully we can make it happen.
Yeah, that'd be a bummer to miss out on a trip to South Africa. That's definitely at the top of my list of places to go.
Yeah. So we're definitely still communicating with people. Had to switch the lanes a bit, just working in different industries now. But I would just encourage folks like, when you get to a point where if you want to get something done, sometimes you got to, like, to prove yourself, you got to do the work already and then show them, and then they'll like it. Because we did that in Canada, in city in Canada. I was like, hey, I want to film this entire city, and I want to show it in a different way than most people show it. And I'm going to show it to one of the tourism boards. So I took it to them. I sent an email to them, to multiple people in the departments. Got a call or email, and it said, hey, we want you to it's gonna be you and 4 other agencies that we're gonna be looking at to be doing some work for the entire city, for sports marketing. And I said, awesome. Like, and that's for me taking time on my budget.
Yeah.
To go film it, and possible $50,000 client. So sometimes you got to sacrifice, and if you got the budget to do it. But I mean, with me, like, hey, I think about it. If something's on my heart, I'm like, this definitely can happen. Like, if I'm seeing like some other folks doing it at a high level, I'm like, I can do it myself too. So you got to carve your way sometimes, and it will happen. Just got to keep going. Like I said, show up. To show up every day.
Show up. Don't be afraid to put in the work, and you're going to have to take some risk along the way. I think the other lesson here is don't necessarily think that just because it's been done one way that you have to do it the exact same way. I mean, it sounds like a big part of what differentiates Iron Visuals is you guys just have a different approach, right? And when you're talking about the city in Canada, you wanted to film it in a way that other people hadn't really shown it, right? So, I mean, you're kind of taking your vision and making that a reality, but I think people just need to get comfortable with the fact that their vision doesn't have to line up with what everyone else's vision is necessarily. Not being afraid to think outside of the box and put your own touch on things. And I think that's what, makes what you do unique and can differentiate you regardless of what the business is.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I feel like to be a impact, what do you call it? Like a 1%er type impact type of person, you got to think outside the box. And to get to where you want to go in your goals, think outside the box. Like, how some people, like, we got so many quotes that a lot of people take.
Yeah.
Come up with your own quote. Like,
there you go.
The pain that you've been through or whatever it is, the trials you've been through, and put something together. Yeah, I think, like, we got to start to be original. Obviously, we take from what we've learned from, but start
no
to
doubt
develop that originality. And
it doesn't mean you have to, build it completely from scratch. You can always borrow from other people that have been successful, learn from them. But at the same time, you're putting your own spin on it and your own personality. I mean, I think whenever you start trying to, emulate another person or another business too much, then, you're doing yourself an injustice. And, whatever the end result is, whether you're selling a product or providing a service, it's not going to be as good. It's not going to be as genuine, and you're not going to be in a position to add as much value, as you would if you really, kind of embrace your vision for it, and then, make that become a reality.
Right. So true. You got to just believe. You got to believe, and you got to know that it's going to be trials along the way.
No doubt.
And embrace those. Like, somebody said, like, oh yeah, I've never been through any type of trials and never failed. Now, I don't know, once you do fail, then it's going to be a big problem.
Well, it'll slap you in the face, and you may not get back up, but it also would be an indication to me that, there's no growth happening. For someone that hasn't been through many trials and hasn't had many of the down times, that would show me that they're probably just very comfortable and that's safe, right? I mean, in most people's mind, that's the safe place to be, is in the comfort zone. But it also means you're not growing, you're not progressing, and you probably shouldn't expect your life to really change or get any better than it is if you're just kind of hanging out there in your comfort zone. And for me, that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned over my life is getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable.
Right.
And I just actually, in my Mindset Monday episode that went out a couple weeks ago, that's exactly what I talked about is, intentionally finding ways to challenge myself so that I can grow and so that I can, develop more mental toughness and, just get more comfortable being uncomfortable. And that way, when the things that are outside of our control challenge us, like a global pandemic, we're
Right.
better prepared to handle it, right? I mean, we're better prepared to get through the trials and the tribulations that life is inevitably going to throw our way. So I think that's key. And I mean, the other lesson there to me is, shifting your mindset to view failure not as failure, but as learning, right?
Exactly.
I think so many people, they
Just
get paralyzed and they're scared to do something that they want to do because they're afraid of failure. And I
right.
think as soon as you recognize that failure is really just a way of learning,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not actually, I mean, in my mind, my definition of failure has changed over the years. To me now, failure is quitting, right? Giving up is failure. Trying something and it not working is not failure. That's just learning.
Exactly.
And you keep on trying until you figure out how to make it work.
That's true. No, that's so true. Like, same thing. Yeah. It's just a rep. It's just like you're on the bench, you're doing a couple reps.
Yeah.
Trying to get the 225, 315. It's just a rep. And you got to work your way up to it. And then
for
that's
me, I'm like in the 155, 165 range, but
I'm gonna have to do the Herschel Walker workout, just bang out those push-ups.
that's right. Yeah, I'm more of a body weight kind of guy, but I'll have to get in the gym with you sometime. I'm sure you can show me a thing or two.
No, for sure, for sure. I've been on the body weight stuff too, though myself. I feel like once I transition out of I'm a transition out of football already. So like my body now, if I start doing more Olympic lifting, it kind of messes my body up. But when I get into like full body workouts or plyometrics, that stuff, I love that.
Yeah.
Stuff, awesome.
Well, same here, and I don't have to keep track of, is it arm day or leg day? I'm just working out my whole body every day,
Right.
getting good full body in every day. So, let's talk a little bit more, though, about your kind of transition, out of football. I mean, it sounds like, you grew up with a very entrepreneurial mindset, come from a family of entrepreneurs. So that was always, kind of a part of you. But, what was it, or when did it kind of, I guess, resonate with you that, hey, football is not going to last forever. I need to start thinking about what's next. I mean, did you go into the NFL already thinking that way, or was it kind of a realization that you had over your time playing in the NFL?
Eighth grade.
Eighth grade?
Eighth grade is when everything started for me. And I would say, like, I don't know, it was one of those weird moments where I was out playing with, all the other kids and stuff, and then something snapped in my head, like, you need to start thinking about your future. You need to start thinking about get a scholarship. You need to think about after football's done, what do you want to do? You need to start thinking about these things. Now, I didn't think I would get into marketing.
Right.
Video.
You didn't know what it was, but you kind of knew at that point, hey, football is not forever.
Football's not forever. Because I had a lot of great mentors around me that played in the NFL or, that were letting me know, like, hey, I'm open to just open this business up, or I'm doing this, doing that. So like I've seen that. I'm like, you know what? I got to utilize this to my best of my ability. When I'm in it, network. Sure. It's the difference between play for and played for. So
yeah, I like that.
The respect level is higher when you're and you still have a lot of respect after you play, but it's just different when you're active. So I made sure I utilize the connections and the people I've met as much as I could.
Well, that's smart. And, I think you were certainly wise beyond your years to be thinking like that at such a young age. And, no doubt having some good mentors around you is, something that I'm sure contributed to that. But, because I work with a lot of people that are, in a lot of cases going through a transition period in their life or their career. And, maybe they've spent a good portion of their career working, in the corporate environment in some form or another. And, because of a transition, they are considering getting into business for themselves. Mm-hmm. And so I think, your experience in the NFL kind of is very similar in my mind to the transition that a lot of people go through in their careers. It might happen quicker in the NFL. I mean, one of the things I've always heard is that NFL stands for not for long. Yep. But, yep. So with some people it could be they had 15, 20, 30 years in corporate America. But, what so often people learn the hard way is that, hey, look, something can change outside of their control. And now all of a sudden they're not as valuable to their company any longer. Or
Yep.
even if they are, a top performer for their company, something changes. And, look, if it comes to you or the bottom line, the company always chooses the bottom line, right?
Exactly.
It's just business. So I think there's a lot of similarities between, what your experience in the NFL. And I mean, that was a career for you. Just, probably a little more magnified in terms of how quickly, that transition needed to happen for you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's a cutthroat league, and it's different where, in corporate America, you could at least be at your job for like a year, and
Right.
sign a contract. And it's like a contract that you have to follow through. Unless, like you said, you get fired because of the bottom line. But yeah, it's cutthroat. You can get released because somebody that's making a certain amount of money is hurt. And I don't know, it's all these variables that go into it. They say it's a numbers game. They always say that after, if they cut someone, or hey, just it's a numbers game. Sorry, we have to release you today.
It's not personal. It's a numbers thing.
It's a numbers game. When sometimes they're just like, it can be politics too. It's been like
Oh,
that.
I'm sure. I would imagine. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm sure we could do 3 podcast episodes just learning a little more behind the scenes from you about the NFL. But no, I mean I'm sure it's all been good experience, and I'm interested to hear from you. What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned through your
yeah.
whole career playing sports, and particularly playing at a very high level, that you've been able to translate to entrepreneurship that you feel have helped you as a business owner?
Habits, creating good habits.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we're going to get into that next. Creating good habits for yourself, waking up early, making sure you're getting your mindset right before the day starts. Timing, just being professional, being on time. Now, when I get slammed with the work, it gets tough when you got a lot of emails to respond back to. But I think it's being professional, just making sure like you bring your full self to the conversation. You're being attentive. That's the biggest thing with like Rexiano. He used to always have us do is like, make sure you guys sit up in your seats. Make sure you watch. You track the speaker and then learning at a high. So at linebacker, you're the general of the defense. So you are the quarterback, basically, the defense. So you have to know everybody's position. You have to know what everybody's doing. If a lineman, most linemen do this, they turn around and like, yo, what do I have? What do I got? And I'm like, are you serious? Like in my head, I'm like, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
I'm like, double gap left. Like,
I see it. You don't see it.
It's like, or run, let's letting them know. So you have to like constantly think.
Well, you're not only watching for yourself, you're having to watch for everyone else and make sure that not only are you doing what you should be doing, but everyone else is doing what they should be doing.
Exactly. So that's why it was great to learn from the great Michael Singletary, learning from him when I played and learning that, I got better every league I went to and all that. But I think that all that from football, when you translate it over to business, it helps you just, you get to see like the focus, the multitasking, being able to talk to clients, handling rejection, handling, proposals, all that. And then persuading people to change their mind. That's one thing that I've been able to do a lot. So it's very.
Give us an example, because I actually had a podcast recently where we talked a lot about sales, and because a lot of the people I work with, they're like, hey, I want to get into business for myself, but I don't like sales, so let's try to find a business where there's not a whole lot of sales. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't care what business you're in, you're selling something, right? And you got to get comfortable with it. So give us some examples of how in your sports career you had to convince people to do one thing over another.
I guess the biggest one I can do is like we'll talk about is I guess like interviews, like being interviewed by the media and having to sell our, talk about the team, talk about how we're going to do this week, talk about myself as a player. So I'm constantly selling myself as a player, constantly talking about the team and how
Yeah.
we do. So doing that all the time. That's why I was a journalism major. I constantly, like, I understood what questions they're going to ask. I understand their tone, how they're, the tonality, how they're coming at me.
Well, probably even the reason behind the question, right? Because I know a lot of times, reporters, there's an angle, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so you probably had a little more insight into what the angle was for whatever they're asking you about, so you could respond accordingly.
Yes. So, like, I always sat and I will wait. I would, like, hear what they say, and then I'll respond. I'll take my time to respond so I can just process everything. And then I'll think about the different angles they're coming at me with.
That's smart.
But that's kind of the way I approach it within sports. But I guess if you want to translate it over to business, right?
Yeah.
You have to really understand. So if you calling someone on the phone, they don't know what the heck you are, but, like, hey, maybe I connected with them on LinkedIn. So, like, they're warm. They're warm. Understanding, like, where they're at. Like, you don't want to just throw, hey, this is what I can do. Buy this product, do it right now. Hey, I'm here. I'm just letting you know this is run this agency and consultancy. I always say consultancy, and we just want to provide value. If you get something from this, like, our biggest thing is for you to get something from this call, regardless if we work together or not.
Yeah.
And just provide. I'll give them a PDF or an ebook or something, so they're, like, thinking about you. Like, yeah, that was different. They didn't try to sell me, because they may reel back around later. So,
that's right. Or they might be able to refer someone else to you. Even if they don't have a need for your service, they might know someone else. And so if they have a good experience and get some value, they're going to be much more likely to refer people to you.
Exactly. So,
yeah, I think there's so many good, comparisons or parallels between sports and business. I mean, from you, it sounds like your experience. I mean, having a game plan, right? You need a plan in business, just like you do going into a football game. And then really just, showing up every day to put in the work, right? I mean, it's all about the reps. I mean, if you look at the amount of time, I would guess that you actually spent on the field playing in a game situation compared to the amount of time you spent in the weight room training, on the practice field. Much smaller fraction of time was actual game time, right? I mean, all the work that goes into a much smaller amount of time that's spent actually playing the game. And I think that's key to business too. And I think it's something that a lot of businesses probably don't do a very good job with, is actually practicing and putting in the reps, so that when they're actually, quote unquote, on the field in front of a prospective client, or, actually delivering a product or a service to a client, they're sharp and they've got it dialed in. I think in too many cases, businesses are practicing with actual clients, and that results in the ball getting dropped a lot of times, unfortunately.
It's true. It's so true. You got to just make sure you already understand what they're going to need, understand how to serve. Yeah, you just want to come at them like you're having a conversation, man. Like, there's no need to be robotic. I'll have some people call me on my phone, some sales calls come in the morning, and I'll just listen to, like, how are they going to try to sell their product to me, or how they're going to go about it. It's like, oh, so do you have I don't know, what kind of editing software do you use, Quinn? I'll say, I'll use Adobe Cloud. Oh, okay. Well, we have this software. I'm like, are you interested? I'm like, no, I'm really not. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Goodbye. Like, you just gave up. Like, you didn't even try. Like,
well, and even if they would have done their research ahead of time, they might have already known what type of software you use, and, known a little bit more going into it, how they might be positioned to really add value to you, instead of asking a couple questions. Oh, you're happy with it? Okay, well, all right. Thanks for answering. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, the persistence is key, and I'm sure that's another, lesson that, playing sports at a high level, is translated well to business ownership for you, is just that persistence and not giving up, and just keep showing up, even if it, doesn't work out the first time or the second time or the 10th time. You keep showing up.
You got to keep showing up. And yeah, you're going to look, I've gotten knocked down a lot of times in business. I got knocked down a lot of times. within the business world, and then also spending money as well too. Like I've put money at mentors, put money in, like, you got to make sure you find the right people, do your research.
No doubt.
And you'll get there. And I'm still learning. I'm constantly learning. I'm not where I want to be right now. I have a vision board of where I want to be. I'm still grinding. Yeah. And sometimes I think about this. I'm like, yeah, I played in the NFL. I played at a high level. I'm still not satisfied though. I'm like, everybody, oh, you play at the pinnacle. I'm like, you know what? Cool. But that's for, like, it's cool to be in that place. And it does give you some celebrity and all that. But at the same time, it's like once you get out, that doesn't define you.
That's right. It's behind you at that point.
Exactly. You got to come out like, okay, who are you? What type of person are you? Because a lot of people on LinkedIn you could look up that's in the NFL or have played, and some of them will say, hey, I'm doing business consulting for helping people out. I used to struggle with depression or da-da-da, because when you come out of football, that's all you're getting praised a lot. So that's what you're used to. And
then the spotlight kind of goes off.
Yeah, it's like click.
Yeah.
So how do you adjust to that? You got, put those efforts into business or whatever passion you have.
Well, yeah. So I think to me, that's a common theme amongst any high performer, right? Is they're always learning. They're never satisfied with where they are. And it doesn't mean that you don't take time to appreciate, the blessings in your life and the achievements that you have. But at the same time, you're always looking to grow and to get better as a person and at whatever your craft is. And so I think that's like a necessary trait of anyone that's going to be a high performer and really have a positive impact in the world in any way.
Right.
And, for me, that's something that I'm very intentional about, or at least I try to be intentional about. I'm always trying to learn from those around me and surround myself with people that I can continue to learn from. And, I think you make a good point in terms of like, I played in the NFL and that's awesome. And I enjoyed it. I learned a lot from it, had some amazing experiences. There was some celebrity that came with that, but now that that's kind of behind me, it doesn't define who I am today. And I think you should also always be thinking about, so who am I today, but also who do I want to be tomorrow? Who do I want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? At some point when I find myself laying on my deathbed, who do I see myself being then? Right. And I'll probably mess the quote up, but I've heard a quote or at least some variation of it a few times where, for so many people, the biggest regret that they have when they are laying on their deathbed is, they don't want to pass away and meet the person that they were supposed to be and have that person be a complete stranger.
That's deep.
Yeah, it's a little deeper than we usually get on this podcast. So, sorry for anyone listening that is like, whoa, that's way too deep. But I mean, it's something that I try to think about more often these days, right? Is like, who do I really want to become? And because just like you, I'm satisfied with a lot of what I've done, but I haven't come anywhere close to reaching my full potential. I haven't come anywhere close to accomplishing the things that I want to and feel like I'm capable of accomplishing. And so it's, get clear on your vision for who you want to become and what you want to do, and then show up and put in the work every day to get there. And also get comfortable with failure along the way and use it as a learning instead of, something that's going to, make you lose confidence in yourself and ultimately, decide to just give up.
Right. That's so true. No.
Well, and so let's talk about, mindset a little bit, because I've listened to your podcast. I think you have a fantastic podcast. It's called the Life Journey Podcast, and we'll link it in the show notes. So anyone listening in that wants to check it out, it's really well done. And I like it because, I think this is one reason you and I connected so well when we first met, was I just think we think about things in a similar manner. But, one of the things I know you talk a lot about on your podcast is, mindset and what you can do to, strengthen your mindset, develop better mental toughness, and use that to, help overcome challenges and obstacles in your life. So, share a little bit about, your thoughts on mindset, and, maybe if you have any tips or strategies that you've used, in your sports experience, or, even in your businesses to, help yourself develop and maintain a stronger mindset.
Yes, and actually I wrote down some new goals to keep my mind focused. I have my short term, my long term. I always update them. I put them on a white piece of paper, put them on the wall. But I always kind of keep myself grounded. And sometimes you're gonna have times where like you have a bad day, you have a bad week, month, and you got to find a way to keep yourself grounded. So mindset wise, I think this goes into like the daily habits. And yeah, and like on the podcast and all that, we talk about a lot of that. I just try to dive into people's lives and let them talk. Just let them talk about how they got to where they're at. Because a lot of people, these people I'm talking to are just crushing it in what they're doing. But daily habits, like waking up, I try to do it every day. It's hard to do 5:30 a.m. every day, but 5:30 a.m. at least probably like twice a week. I mean, sorry, 2 days a week. Wake up at 5:30. I get my mental right. I read a devotional. Then I go work out. Then I'll take, when I work out, I'll take a walk or I'll run around my neighborhood.
Okay.
So that's probably about like a mile. I'll go like a mile, come back, then finish my workout. Then I'll read. So take a shower, then I'll read. And the book I'm reading right now is Multiplied by Francis Chan and Atomic Habits. I didn't get a chance to read the full book yet, so I'm crushing that one out. That's a great one so far.
Yeah.
Then I start pretty much like kind of start my day out. Before I get into my day though, my phone is not touched yet. Like I have my iPad if I want to play music and stuff.
Sure.
My phone is off. I'm listening to an awesome podcast in the morning off my iPad. I'm just using the Wi-Fi, or I'm not listening to anything. I'm just talking to myself throughout my day. If I'm on the run, I'm like, today's gonna be a great day. What do you want to accomplish today? You need to close. You need to get on 10 calls today. You need to push those to a discovery call, push those to a proposal call. Then you got to close those. And then what do you want out of your life? I want to move to this house. I want to have this family. I want to, have this car, and then I want to keep God at the center of it. And then I start my day, and then I'll get down again and I'll pray and meditate. And then 9:30 comes around and I start my day, go until 6:37. And then I'll just kind of shut everything down, or, just kind of keep myself, I just had a long day. So I'll just get my mind back. And it's hard for me to go to bed like at 8 or 9.
Same.
So I'll do like a 10:30 or 11:30. Sometimes it goes into 12 or 1.
I was gonna say I'd be good if I could hit the sack at 10:30 or 11. I'm like, and I've started jinxing myself because I've started wearing this Whoop strap which tracks my sleeping. So like now in the morning when I wake up, I get like a sleep score and it tells me how well my body's recovered. And so now I'm like a little more conscious about it. I'm like, all right, I got to get a good 7.5, 8 hours a night. I don't want to have a crappy sleep score in the morning.
Right.
But it's like the more I think about going to bed earlier, for some reason, like the more my mind turns on at night. I'm definitely a night owl. And then I still try to get up early because, like you, I've found, having a very structured morning sets me up for a better day. And a big part of that is it helps me get my mindset right. So I do some journaling where I'm, writing down my goals, and I have short-term, long-term, and, I'll update those every so often, usually at least once a quarter. But then every morning I read through them, right? And I've even found, my wife thinks I'm crazy, but I'll sit up in my office in the morning, and a lot of times I read these goals out loud to myself. Because I think there's just something with like actually verbalizing it and saying the words out loud that, helps it sink in a little bit more. You mentioned a vision board earlier. I have my own kind of variation of a vision board, and I usually am kind of like looking at that as I'm going through my goals. I think one of the biggest changes I made a few years ago was I don't look at emails or social media until I'm kind of done with my morning routine. So a lot of times I will put put some music on in the background as I'm doing all of this, but I'm not looking at emails because, that's just an open opportunity for someone to derail your day. Right. Yeah, exactly. It's going to just send you in a spiral before you even have a chance to like get your day started. So,
Right.
I mean, I've even tried, and I'm not very good at this most days, but I've tried to just block off an hour in like the mid morning and an hour in the evenings to check and respond to emails. And other than that, not really look at emails throughout the day. It's not always that feasible. And, but it's just like you can get sucked into it so fast. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, I mean, I would say it sounds like I have a somewhat similar kind of, routine that I go through in the mornings. And I've learned that, having some intention with the way you start your day, you can prime your mindset to have a better day. And envisioning, I like what you said, when you're running or whatever, you're thinking about what you want to accomplish in the day. And I think if you really get intentional about that and you kind of visualize it, I mean, your chances of accomplishing those things in the day are far greater than if you're just kind of winging it, going into the day without a plan or a goal. And then I'd say that at night, I try to recap my day.
Yep.
How did I do today? Did I accomplish the things that I did want to do today? If not, why not? And then I, kind of set my intentions and my plan for the next day as well. Because I don't know about you, but I'm a big believer in, your subconscious can really do a lot of work kind of behind the scenes, right? So if you go to bed at night with like this plan and this vision in your mind for what you want to happen the next day, or even further out in the future, while you're sleeping at night, your subconscious is kind of, stirring on all of that and, setting things in motion for it to become a reality.
Right. No, it's true. So you got to constantly put it in your head. And there's sometimes where like, again, like you'll have that bad week or bad, month, and you're like, you got to like reset yourself again. And I know some people, oh yeah, I've been consistent all this time. Like, kudos to those folks. But like, it's been times where it's like, man, okay, I got to sit down and like restructure. I got to restructure my goals again, or I got to restructure this or that because something's not right, or, so no, it's good. It's good to do that because it allows you to make it real. It allows, like, you can start checking off so many different goals. And that's what I did. Like when I was in 8th grade, that's what I did. And like, I put NFL, I put scholarship, I put 4.0 GPA. I never got it in high school, the 4.0. I got it in college. I got two 4.0 semesters, got a full scholarship, got into the NFL. But I kept reiterating it every day. I'd like literally limit any distraction. Like there was some females were really trying, I'll keep it real. Some females were trying to get at me in high school all the time. And I was so focused on my goal. Like I wouldn't let I put on my goal sheet, football's my girlfriend.
I love
I did that to keep myself focused. And I had girlfriends and stuff, but some people got mad at me because I was so focused on getting to this goal. Yeah. I wouldn't let anything stop me. And I got to it. Now I'm like, okay, now I'm putting it into Iron Visuals and other ventures I'm going to get into later. Hopefully, it gets into franchising for sure later. But
yeah.
Yeah, man, it's a journey. It's a journey.
Well, it is, man. And it starts with a vision and getting clear on that vision. And it doesn't mean the vision, won't change over time. I think that's fine. So, I like what you said about kind of regrouping or reevaluating every so often. And I mean, I think that's an important part of it. I think if you have this, such a rigid vision that you don't give yourself any flexibility to change it, before you know it, you might be chasing something that you don't even want. And that can almost happen without realizing it unless you are intentionally, finding time to sit down and really think through these things. So, no, I mean, I think we're very much aligned with that. You mentioned franchising earlier, and that's actually how you and I connected originally. We connected on LinkedIn, and I was just kind of, telling you a little bit about, what I do, how I'm able to help the people that I work with, some of my experience when it comes to, owning franchise businesses and how that's impacted our lives. And, you responded that, it's something you'd be interested in learning more about. And that's, how we kind of initially engaged and have started forming this relationship. And, you're at a very early stage in the process. I mean, this is, very much kind of an exploratory thing for you, and you were very clear and transparent with me about that up front. Hey, I'm not for sure that owning a franchise is the right thing for me or if now's the right time, but I think it's something I'd be interested in learning more about. And that's something that I see as my role when I work with people is first and foremost, just helping them understand franchising, how it works, and help them determine if it is actually a good option for them.
Right.
And so, maybe just share with everyone listening in, if you don't mind, just a little bit about your experience working with me through the process so far. And again,
Yeah.
still pretty early into it, but what's your experience been so far? Have you learned anything? Has it been helpful? Any insight for those listening in?
Yeah. So, working with you, definitely, like, so when we first started, I love how you took your time, and this is what I do with my clients. You took your time to do like a deep dive in, like an audit, understanding what I'm doing, where I'm at, what I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a conversation took a while because like you really want to understand. You're not just, hey, you want to do franchising? All right, we'll pull these companies up and hope which one you like.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
like, okay, we understand what you like first. And we got into another conversation, and you presented some companies to me, and you really broke them down. You said, hey, I think this would be a good fit from what you were talking about. Um, I love the way you went about it, and anybody that's looking to get into franchising, definitely like contact Wes because other people I've spoken to about other industries and stuff like the way to go about it, they don't try to understand your needs. They just this is what you need, and
Right.
you don't even know me. Like you're like it's like a doctor.
Right.
Like you
Yeah.
go to the doctor's office and you get medicine without getting the diagnosis first. Like they,
Yeah. Yeah. No, well,
so
look, I
listen,
appreciate that, and I'm glad to hear that it's been a good experience, and I mean for me that's the only way to do it. I mean, there's no doubt doing something like buying a franchise, it's a huge decision. It's a
yeah,
big investment. I mean, the investment range can vary greatly, but even the smallest investments are still substantial investments, and it's not something that I'm going to know what's the best option for you until I really have gotten to know what makes you tick, know what drives you, what motivates you, understand what are your big goals that you're looking to accomplish. Because the way I look at it, I mean, something like a business, it's a vehicle, right? So until we understand where you're trying to get, it's impossible to know what type of vehicle is going to be best to get you there. And that's the way I look at the process. And, you've been great to work with through the process. Not everyone's as easy to work with as you've been because, you bought in, you understood there's a process and there's a process for a reason. And so you've been fantastic to work with. And, the way I look at this with everyone that I work with is wherever it ends up going is fine, right? I'm never going to pressure anyone to buy a franchise business if that's not what they feel is the best fit for them. In fact, I sometimes tell people like, hey, it's been great getting to know you. I don't think investing in a franchise is the best option for you, or I don't think it's the best option for you where you're at in your life right now.
right,
Some people aren't cut out for business ownership. Some people are so entrepreneurial that a franchise doesn't make sense for them because there is actually a system, that you have to follow. So, it's for me, like you talked about earlier, always looking for ways to add value. My biggest goal is that, whether we work together through one phone call or we work together for 6 months or 12 months, you come out of it knowing more about franchising and how it works than you did coming into it. And you
right,
better understand what your options would be if you ever do get to the point where, you want to look more closely at it. So,
right.
anyways, I appreciate you sharing that.
No
It
problem.
was, just something that I thought might be helpful for those listening in. So, this has been awesome, man. I'm glad we'll have to get together and do another one because there's so much that we could talk about. It's a lot to try to pack into one podcast. So before I let you go, though, I do have a lightning round of questions that
Oh
I
yeah,
like to ask everyone, and I think you actually hit on a couple of these, but we can recap them. But the first question, I don't know that we did hit on. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received? And that could be in business or in life.
Best piece of advice I've ever received. It was the one that we talked about. Keep showing up every day.
All right.
Keep showing up every day.
I love it. That's gold. And then, we got into this a little bit, but maybe just kind of quickly recap it for us. Tell us a little bit more about your morning routine that you try to stick to.
Morning routine, get up at 5:30, devotional, work out, take a walk, then phone's off the whole time.
Yeah.
No phone activity. Then I lay down, meditate, pray, then start my day at 9:30, go through the day from 9:30 to 7, turn everything, shut it down, spend time, just relaxing, reading, maybe watch it. If it's a show on Netflix, Money Heist. I've been watching Money Heist. It's been a pretty good show.
I've heard that's a good one.
So I've been kind of stuck on that. After that, I'm not watching any Netflix no more. But
yeah.
Other than that, yeah, reading, Netflix, start the next day. Yeah, evaluating myself. I got my little journal here. So I'll write down my notes. And be intentional about everything. Be intentional.
Yeah, I love it. And, I use this podcast, in some selfish ways, and it's been great. I learned so much from all the people that come on. And, like the next question I'll ask you is what book are you reading right now? But I've got an amazing list of books, that have just been recommended by people that have come on the podcast. Like I said earlier, my morning routine is something that, I know when I actually do it, because I'm not perfect by any means. There are days where I miss it or am off a little bit. My days are so much better when I stick to my morning routine. And that's another theme I've identified with top performers is they all have some sort of a morning routine. It's different for everyone, but there's structure to their morning. They try to start their day off the same way. And so that's why I like to ask that question. But anyway, share with us again the books you're reading right now.
Yeah. So, it's a Multiply by Francis Chan, which is a powerful book. Atomic Habits. And then I'll give one that I've read and it's a powerful book as well too, The Millionaire Next Door.
Yeah. So, that's a great one. I've read that a couple times over the years. I read Atomic Habits a couple months ago. I listened to it on Audible. I don't know if that's cheating or not, but
I'm the same. I'm reading through it, but
I'm half and half. I've pretty much always have a book going on Audible, and then I've always got one that I'm reading, hard copy as well.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I thought Atomic Habits was great. And I actually got a note from one of my mentors yesterday. He was recommending it, and it was kind of cool for me to be able to go back to him and be like, yeah, I've already read it. You're behind. Because usually he is the one saying, hey, this is a book you should read. But I have not read Multiply, so I'll check that one out.
It's a good one.
Awesome.
Yeah, solid books. Definitely books open up your mind. It helps you see where it's everybody's experience and what they've been through. They can probably write it down and show you so how to avoid those mistakes. That most people make in their life. So yeah, read.
What I've even found that, because a lot of the stuff I read is similar in concept, right? Mm-hmm. But I've learned that, even if two different authors are really trying to communicate the same kind of thoughts and the same concepts, they're going to communicate them in different ways. And sometimes reading it from one author's perspective resonates with me or sticks with me more than it does from another author's perspective. Right. So, to me, that's been a big benefit of reading. And then I think it's similar to your best advice, right? Is show up every day. If you're constantly having good positive input, it's going to manifest in your life more than if you're just occasionally reading a book. If you're constantly, putting good information in, the more likely it sinks in and that you actually, start living some of what you're learning through the reading. So, and I think podcasts are the same way too. That's why I try to listen to a lot of podcasts. And, I definitely have my shows on Netflix that I get into from time to time, but, more often than not, I try to spend my downtime reading or listening to a good podcast like the Life Journey podcast. And there's so many good ones out there. But last question for you. what is your definition of freedom, and are you living it?
Definition of freedom is living. Definition of freedom is being able to live wealthy from the inside out, and being able to not have to be in a struggling position, or you don't have to be at a position where if you be a billionaire, cool, but where you're helping folks, bringing them up, teaching others, providing value, giving back, think and grow rich type mindset.
Yep.
Where everybody's growing and helping the world make it a better place. So I think, yes, that's a path.
Man, I love that. Wealth from the inside out. I think you used that line when we did one of our consultations, and I wrote it down in my notes and like highlighted it because it really stuck with me. I mean, I love that line a lot. Wealth from the inside out. I think that's very well said.
Yeah.
No, man, that's awesome. Well, look, I wanted to just quickly take a moment to not only thank you for coming on, but just, acknowledge you and say it's been fantastic getting to know you. I look forward to, continue getting to know you as we, work through this process, but also just, as we, share with each other and learn from each other. And I appreciate everything you're doing. One thing we didn't have a chance to talk about today, but I know you're very involved with some nonprofit organizations. I know that, finding different ways for you to be able to give back and have a positive impact is something that's very important to you. So thanks for everything you're doing. Keep doing everything that you're doing, man. You're an inspiration. Before we wrap up here, tell everyone listening in, how can they connect with you? How can they learn more about your businesses, your podcast, everything else that you have going on?
Yeah. So with Iron Visuals, go to www.ironvisuals.com. You can reach us on there, visual marketing and branding. IG, all that stuff, Iron_Visuals, Facebook, Iron Visuals New York. And then my personal page on Facebook is Facebook/Quentin Gause, my fan page. And then I have on IG, Q Gause on IG. Yeah, and you can go to tourskipper.com. Also, as well, too, we're restructuring the site over there. We'll have some stuff up for you. Want to travel once. I believe today's the day they open up the States, but yeah, I don't know. This is heard the cruise stocks though have gone up.
Have they?
everybody's booking.
That's good to hear. That's a good sign.
So, but yeah,
and then your podcast, the Life Journey podcast. I know I listen to it on Spotify, but I assume it's out there on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, pretty much everywhere podcasts are found.
Yeah, it's all out there. So yeah, when you go on with Spotify, just type in Quentin Gause. For some reason, it doesn't pop up when I put Life Journey for some reason. But Quentin Gause, and it'll pop up. We got some awesome episodes. I'm starting season 3, so we're getting that going. We'd love to have you on season 3. By the way, I have 2 episodes that we did last week, so we'll love to have you on there for sure.
Awesome, man.
Get that going. But yeah, just continue to provide value where I can for others, and I appreciate you having me on the show today. Thank you.
No, man, this has been a blast. I appreciate you coming on. And yeah, I'd love to come on your season 3, one episode. If you get like really desperate for someone, let me know. And but no, man, thanks again. We'll link all this in the show notes so people can find you. But again, keep doing what you're doing, man. And hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.